So welcome to this video tutorial for the Applied Color Harmony assignment, which you'll find in the schedule under week 8. And when you get to this page, you'll discover a summary of what this is all about, and then a separate page of directions, the Color Harmony tutorial page, which looks like this. And what I'm going to do today is just take you through the steps of completing this assignment by moving through the list of requirements on this tutorial page. So in class we may have created a style sheet called home.css already, but for the purposes of this tutorial I'm just going to start from scratch with a page that does not yet have any style sheet whatsoever. But before I begin, of course I need to plug my flash drive in and make sure that Dreamweaver is up and running. And also, it'd probably be a good idea if you opened these two pages, GreekingText and Peloton.com, in separate tabs. There's the GreekingText page, and then there's the Peloton.com website. You'll need both of those in order to complete this assignment. So the first thing to do, as it says in the tutorial, is to copy and paste 2 or 3 paragraphs of GreekingText into your index.html page below the screenshot for Codecademy, and make sure to include at least one H2 tag from the GreekingText. So when we open the GreekingText, we can save, I'll just take 3, including their H2 tags, copy them, move back over to Dreamweaver, put the cursor at the on the right side of the image, and just hit return and paste. And that adds 3 paragraphs of GreekingText to my document. I've made changes, which is indicated with this asterisk, so I'll just go ahead and save that page. From here, I'm done making changes to the HTML file. Next step is to create CSS styles that will control how this page looks when it's loaded in a browser. Now in class we may have begun this process by creating the home.css file. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'll just take you through those steps and start with a project that has only the HTML file as well as the ping image visible. So to do that, the process is always the same when you're creating cascading style sheets. The first time you do it, you'll need to tell Dreamweaver to create a separate external CSS file and to save all of the rules that you'll be creating in that. And the process is simply to start using this new CSS rule button. We'll sometimes also use this edit style sheet rule button to edit things that we've already created, but since we have nothing yet, we can create this new CSS rule. This is a tag selector. It's the body selector. And the rule definition, as I said, is in a new style sheet file. We click OK, and Dreamweaver asks us what we want to call the file, home.css, and where we want to put it, in this case 3710 folder, so that it will sit right next to your index.html. So we click the Save button, and we get the rule definition window for body in home.css. Now you'll be using Peloton to create a analogous color scheme. I'm just going to use shades of gray for the purposes of this tutorial. But for the body, what we'll need is a background color that's light enough so that we'll be able to read dark text easily. And of course you control the background color using this little color picker here. Like I said, I'm just going to choose a very light shade of gray. 3 C's are the equivalent of the 6 C's. That's just a shortcut as it talked about in the Codecademy. You can click Apply and take a look and see how that will go. Once I click OK, I see a couple of things happen. One, Dreamweaver shows me that it has indeed created a file called home.css. And up here, I see the name of that file, and with the black triangle pointing downward, it reveals all the rules that are in that file. At the moment, just the one. All right, so we're on our way. Step 2 is to use Peloton.com to create a new analogous color scheme. So this tool is really powerful and very useful. We could create a monochromatic color scheme, which of course we know from studying this week means variations of a single hue. But what we want is an analogous color scheme, which Peloton actually calls adjacent colors. And once you select that tool right there to get the adjacent color options, you'll get the 3 dots on the color wheel, which you can then dial around as you see fit. You can move the adjacent colors more or less distant from the central color. And of course you can fine-tune that in a lot of ways as well. We can change the hue slightly, or the saturation to desaturate or intensify colors. We could darken it a bit. And what we're looking for are some colors, either warm or cool, or anywhere that you'd like, that work well together because they are analogous, but that also include very light as well as dark colors. So you may make any choices that you'd like using this tool, as long as they are analogous colors. You'll have fulfilled the requirements of the assignment. But as I said, I'll just be using the various shades of gray for the purposes of this assignment. And what that means is that I can move right to the next step. We've already done the first one, the body tag selector. But let me show you how to edit a tag that you've already, edit a selector that you've already created. And that's simply clicking once to tell Dreamweaver which one you'd like to edit. Find this third button, the pencil edit rule button. And from there you can see that this background color is the 6Cs that we said earlier. Maybe that's a little bit too dark still. I want to lighten it even more. That's pure white. So if I go back here and just drag this over a little bit, I'll end up with DD. Well, I'm going to set that as all 6Ds to get a absolutely pure white. Click apply, I get a slightly lighter color. And then I've edited an existing rule. Next step, as it says in the directions, is to add a H1 selector that sets the color as well as the font family of the H1 tag. So again, I select New CSS Rule. The selector type is still tag. The selector is the H1 tag, and it will be in the home.css file that this information is saved. This is critical. If you ever see this document only, or a new set, or an option other than the existing style sheet that you've already made, make sure that you select that existing style sheet so that the rules go in the right place. When I click OK, I get the rule definition for H1. And as it says in the directions, I'm going to change 2 things under the category type. I'm going to change the font family, in this case to Verdana, and then I'm going to change the font color to some dark gray for mine. And when I click apply, you'll see that H1 tag takes those changes. All right, so there's the H1 tag complete. Okay, so moving on to H2. As it says in the directions, the H2 is also a tag selector. We're going to change the color and the font family. We're going to make the font family the same as the one that we selected for the H1 tag, which was, as you'll remember, Verdana. So back in Dreamweaver, new CSS rule. It's a tag. It's an H2 tag. It's in the home.css file that this information will be saved. And then once again under category type, I'll change the font family to Verdana, and then the font color, I'll go ahead and use that same 333. And once I've done that, I see that these H2 tags, all 3 of them, have taken those rules. Last but not least is the P tag. The color is something dark so the text remains legible. Probably I'll do something even darker than what I use for the headings. then the font family needs to be different than the font used in H1 and H2. So let's use Georgia, which is which was created to be a specifically screen-friendly version of a serif font. So back in Dreamweaver, once again, the new CSS rule. This is a tag. The P tag, Dreamweaver guessed right in this case. It also guessed that I want to continue saving these rules into the home.css style sheet. And for the P tag, I'm going to change the font family to the Georgia and some other options, which we'll talk about in class. Then 3333, as I said, was maybe a little light for body text, so I'm going to use the system color picker and darken that even further. Okay, and I end up with 111, which of course we remember is identical to the 6-digit version of that. Click apply, I see that the body text of the paragraphs has taken those changes. And with that, I have completed the applied color harmony assignment. You'll see there's a bonus here, which I'll discuss in a separate video. What you will need to do, of course, is to upload your changes once we've saved all, which is a handy feature in Dreamweaver that will save any changes that have been made to any open page, including the CSS documents. Once we've done that, we'll need to upload all of these changes by clicking once on the 3710 folder and using the Put Files to Remote Server button, which turns the arrow blue when you hover over it. The first time you do this on any particular day, Dreamweaver will ask you for your Swan password. I think I've already entered mine today, so it probably won't ask me again. But once I click that button, I'll get the background activity window, and from here, once I've uploaded everything, I can go to the web and actually test and make sure that the page has taken those changes. To test the changes once you've uploaded them, simply go back to your browser and then to any page in our